everyone, Renee here today, and in the spirit of Halloween, just around the corner, I thought I would make some Squished Witch bookmarks. So they're just a simple, cutesy little bookmark type thing. Could put them in a journal, could use them as a bookmark, give them as a gift, give them out as Halloween favours, whatever you want. And they're kind of like kiddish, so make them with your kids. Give you something to do over the Halloween period together. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I did this. Now I made it with crepe paper and I used 4 different colours, red, green, black and white, although this is a slight cream, but that's still going to work. And I used a black card on the back, but for the purposes of the video I'm going to do it on white so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. And there isn't really measurements to this plan. You just, cut a bit off, glue a bit on, and manipulate it with your fingers. So, need a bit of scissors and that. Let us begin with a witch's head. So I'm just cutting a square. I'm taking a glue stick, and I'm not being careful about it, I'm just rubbing glue all over it. And place it down on my card and press it. I'm going to start manipulating like I'm going to want a big nose for a witch. And don't worry if it doesn't quite look right, we can always add a bit more. So let's get a bit more, not too much. Around the back of the head part, and maybe a little bit for the mouth. And it doesn't matter if it looks all wrinkly and uneven or doesn't even look like a face, because these witches have been squished. They're like pressed flowers. They're old and dried out. So just do the best you can. So that's good enough for me. I've got what looks like a nose here, maybe a mouth here, and a somewhat squished head shape. Happy with that. So next I'm going to do the witch's hat. So again, I'm not going to be too careful about it. And so I know I want it to be across the head, sort of hat shape width. And then I want it to go into a point, maybe curl over a bit like this. So get the general idea, and then I'll go back in with this extra bit just to make sure we get that straight hat edge. Crepe paper is very forgiving and very manipulatable. And again, don't stress too hard, because if you don't get the shape exactly how you want it, we can trim it with the scissors at the end when we're cutting it out. And if you've got places that just won't stick down, just wrap some glue stick on it and press it down. Treat it a bit more like clay than paper, I guess, in this particular make. Right, I'm happy with that. So next, I want a little bit of a neck on this witch, so a bit more green for the skin. And just rub it on the glue stick a bit more just to make sure there's enough glue to smush it in place. Press it in, smush it down. A bit like that. Okay. So next I'm going to want to do a couple of arms. Now, just from whereabouts the neck is, oops, a bit of green on there, don't need that. I'm just going to do an arm and kind of make it look at a weird angle maybe, like, you know, squished, pressed witch. Get creative, and you might need to give it a bit more glue if it's not wanting to do what you want it to do. And this other arm, I'll go up this way, like this. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of green for some hands. I just roll this into a sort of ball and then sort of an ovally shape and just stick it on the end of the arms. Like this. And then I'm going to make another go over those arms with something that will resemble a bit of a sleeve. So, you might want it to be a bit wider at the sleeve end, or you might not. Like I said, get creative. I like that. And press, press, press. I like that. Now for her dress. Now I'm going to try not to squish this one up too much or tear it too badly. I'm pressing quite firmly on the paper to make sure it's got enough pressure not to tear the paper. It's kind of awkward, but if you find you've torn it, just do it in smaller bits and make the same sort of thing. So we want a sort of body shape and a dress shape. Like this. Okay. Right, we're running out of room for legs, so I'm just going to hoik the dress up a bit more, like that. So for legs, what I find is usually the easiest is get probably a couple of pieces of the lighter colour and we kind of want to roll it into a longer sort of piece if we can. Roll, 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 a bit like that. Now the ink from the black tissue crepe paper is kind of rubbing off on it, but I don't think it'll matter too much. So I'm putting it over the top of the dress because I'm going to put another layer of dress on, but I'm just popping a leg like that. I'm going to do much the same with the other piece. I'm using up scraps, so it probably would have been easier if I'd cut this a bit wider to do this part, just for your own reference. So I'm going to put that so it's down about the same length. And then I'm going to take some black, and I don't want a very wide piece. You'll notice with crepe paper it has the grain going one way, and that means it's stretchy in this direction, not this direction. So yes, this way, no, this way, or in the bigger piece. Stretches that way, not that way. And I'm cutting it so that I've got little pieces of stretchy this way for this. And I'm just going to rub them on the top of the glue stick. Doesn't matter if they tear. And I'm putting little bands over the top of the little white bits. So I'm making stripy stockings is what I'm doing. So I've left a little bit of white at the top, just under the hem of the dress, and then a black stripe, doing the same on both legs. Now, putting it over, it overhangs, and then I'm just pushing it in like that. And I'll give it another one. And one more. Okay, so we've got some legs. Let's fix the dress now. So I'm going to cut probably a sort of waist to bottom of skirt length piece. Going to press firmly so I can try and keep it as flat as possible. I'm going to pop it over the top of the tights first, so I know I'm hiding those bits, and then sort of mirror or just place over the top of the dress pieces we already had, like that. Little extra bit of glue for that little flat bit that doesn't want to stay down. Press. Okay. So, we need some shoes, and I'm going red shoes. This is a very Wizard of Oz witch. Okay, so shoe number 1 will be that. Shoe number 2. Now, it doesn't matter how big a piece you cut, so long as they're kind of the same size, because you don't want one giant shoe and one tiny shoe. And like I said, you can always cut a bit off at the end, so I'm just kind of screwing it into a sort of loose ball, placing it on the edge of the bottom of the leg. Might make it a little bit of a pointy shoe. I'm just kind of sculpting it into a shape I'm pleased with. Like that. Something else that would be kind of cute is if you put some white glue on these little red shoes and then sprinkle some red glitter. Although you'll get glitter on everything, as that's the nature of glitter. Right, other shoe, roughly the same shape, just kind of eyeballing it. Right, I look like I've got one shoe a little bigger anyway, so we'll probably end up trimming a little bit off this shoe to help it match. Alright, so that's our squished witch. So, I'm just going to trim it off this piece of card. Now, like I said, I normally do this on black, so I don't have to be too fussy with my fussy cutting. So what I'll do to ensure I'm not going to see white is I'm going to make sure I either get right up against the crepe paper, or I'm just going to trim a little bit extra crepe paper off as I go, so that I'm definitely not going to have white poking out. Alternatively, if all you've got is white card, maybe paint it or ink it before you start. Make sure it's dry, of course. So there we have it. I probably could need to trim a little more off the inside of this leg because I can still see white. Like that. Anyway, you need to let it completely dry before you put it in your journal or your book because crepe paper colours do bleed when wet, and also it's covered in glue, so if you pop it in your book now you'll probably end up gluing your pages together. Anyway, but it's fairly flat. It should sit flat, should stay flat, and when you put it in your book it would probably look super cute with the legs poking out. Anyway, I just thought it might be something fun and cute you could do for Halloween and possibly with your kids. And yeah, why not experiment? Why stop at witches? Why not do some squished fairies, some squished flowers? Just go to town. Squish whatever you can imagine. Alright, thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the next one, and happy Halloween! Bye!